Hello, myself Kumar Vishal. I am going to do a physical examination of the cardiovascular disease. So we will start from look generalized physical appearance of the patients. Example: the color of the patients show the cyanosis. That means oxygen problem. That means the amount of oxygen will be less in cyanosis. Respiratory rate, blood pressure, heart rate. This all general appearance can show a cardiovascular disease related problem. So we'll here start with the physical examination of jugular venous pressure. So let's here, can please zoom here. So for the patients measuring the jugular venous pressure, we'll firstly palpate over external clavicle end of sternum. We'll palpate here. So for measuring the internal jugular pressure, can please zoom here. For measuring the internal jugular pressure, why we'll measure? It's so about the relations with the right atrium, the pressure of right atrium, and the central venous pressure. So the internal jugular vein is directly connected to the right atrium. So we can explain about the if any problem or any elevation or depression in internal jugular vein. We will consult regarding any problem with the right atrium. So for the internal jugular venous measuring venous pressure, the patient should be at 30 degree. If the pressure is let's assume if the pressure is elevated, if the patient is hypervolemic, then we have to shift little bit upper, that means 45, 60 or maybe 90 degree. If the patient is hypovolemic septic shock, we have to put down to the 0 degree angle for measuring the internal jugular pressure. So here is the patient. Can you please? Here is the patient. We have to measure the jugular venous pressure height. So actually also there is a little bit differences here. Little bit differences between the many clinicians. There may be the problem regarding the examination of carotid artery and internal jugular venous pressure. So it's not easily palpable. It is not easily palpable, and carotid artery is easily palpable. So we'll start from here. Can you please turn your left to us? Okay. So right internal jugular height, will fix this scale over the external angle of Lewis, second intercostal space. Yeah, okay. So we'll measure from maximum point of location of internal jugular vein to the angle of Lewis. We'll use this card to measure. It's 3 centimeter from the angle of Lewis. It's 3 centimeter. So it's 3 centimeter from the angle of Lewis, and we'll add 5 for the total central venous pressure from the right atrium. So total venous pressure from the right atrium is 5 plus 3, that is the height of the internal jugular vein. Total is 8. If the height is greater than 8, it's a problem. Example, we will take example of COPD. In COPD, during expiration, internal jugular vein increases, and during expiration, the vein is collapsed. That means decreases. So this is the whole scenario of internal jugular vein. Internal jugular vein also there is a pressure. Can please, if we put little bit pressure over the abdomen, let's see, the pressure increases. Can you please zoom here? The pressure increases in internal jugular vein. So okay, here. So little bit pressure over the internal jugular vein also increase the level of internal jugular vein height. Hello, I am going to measure the carotid pulse. Carotid pulse is actually medial to the SCM muscles and roughly adjacent to the cricoid cartilage. So, what informations carotid pulse provide? Carotid pulse provide informations about the aortic valve stenosis and regurgitation. So here we will palpate the carotid pulse, but there is one notice that never palpate carotid pulse at the same time, because it can cause lower your blood pressure as well as it can make the patients unconscious. So let's start the examination of carotid pulse here. So the patient should be at 30-degree angle. The patient should be at 30-degree angle, and the head should be straight. So we'll examine the carotid pulse, both sides of the carotid pulse. So with the index and middle finger, we will look over the carotid pulse. We will palpate the carotid pulse. Yeah, we will just adjacent to the cricoid cartilage. So I got the pulse of carotid pulse of right carotid artery, and this is the left carotid artery pulse, just adjacent to the cricoid cartilage, roughly medial to SCM. So this will look over the carotid pulse, including its amplitude and contour and broods. So the amplitude correlate with the pulse pressure, contour correlate with the speed of upstroke and speed of downstroke. Normal upstroke is a brisk, smooth, rapid, and follow S1 immediately, and the summit is smooth, rounded, and mid-systolic. So also we can osculate the carotid pulse to look over any problem in any vascular problem rather than the cardiac problem. So we'll osculate with the stethoscope. Now so close now. For the palpation of the pulmonic and aortic area, we can say this is first, second. See, this is the second intercostal space. So we can palpate with the help of the pad of the finger for the pulmonic valve, and same position to the other opposite side, second intercostal space, we can palpate the aortic valve. We will osculate the carotid pulse to look vascular problem rather than the cardiac problem. We will osculate with the diaphragm of the stethoscope. So there is no abnormal sound. So there is no abnormal sound. If there may be, if the patients have the abnormal sound in the carotid pulse, that of course means narrowing of the vascular artery, not the cardiac function. Thank you. Now I am going to examine the heart. For this for the palpation of the heart, for the heart palpation, the patient should be at 30 degree, and the patient should be supine. So now I will palpate for the Hebb's thrills, S1, S2 and S3 and S4 sound. So I will start with the Hebb's. Hebb's is then you can please zoom here. If we palpate, if there is a Hebb's, that means the main cause should be the enlarged left and right ventricular, and we will also palpate for the thrills, that is the vibratory or buzzing sensation. Now I am going to palpate for the right ventricle in lower, right ventricle in lower and left, in lower left external border there is a right ventricle. We will also palpate for that. We will also palpate for the S1 and S2, that is for the palpation of S1 and S2 we will palpate the carotid pulse. S1 is just before the carotid upstroke and S2 is just after the carotid upstroke. For the S3 and S4 sound we will palpate for the left, that means we can say palpate for the apex area, 4th and 5th left intercostal space. Now I am going to palpate for the left ventricular area. The person should be supine, and for the left ventricular area we'll palpate for the point of maximum impulse. For the left ventricular area, point of maximum impulse should be at the 4th and 5th intercostal space, or you can say near the apex. We'll look for the amplitude, location, diameter for this point of maximum impulse. We can say point of maximum impulse should be less than 2.5 centimeter. So for the diameter, location, and this all, there is a many conditions. Can please here there is a many condition here for the diameter less than 2.5, location. Looking at the location is the 4th and 5th intercostal space or near the apex, that we can palpate the point of maximum impulse. And for the there is a many conditions came here. Example, if the patient is hyperkinetic, if the patient is pressure overloaded, if the patient is volume overloaded. For the pressure overloaded, the causes should be the example aortic stenosis. For the volume overload, the causes would be aortic regurgitation. These are the all conditions. After this we will try to, can please zoom here. After this we will try to palpate the right ventricular area. To palpate the same, we will palpate the same location, duration and amplitude. So for the right ventricular area we will palpate towards the 3rd, 4th and 5th intercostal space. 3rd, 4th and 5th intercostal space. So look over, this is the notch, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. We will palpate the 4th and 5th intercostal space for the right heart. So 4th and 5th intercostal space we will palpate here. For this we will palpate at if the we can say if the there is a no palpation, we can ask the patient to exhale and stop the breathing. Can you please exhale? Can you please exhale? Okay. For the osculation of the mitral stenosis, we will use the bell of the stethoscope. As we earlier said, the bell of the stethoscope is for the lower pitch sound and the diaphragm is for the higher pitch sound. So for the mitral stenosis, the patient should be at the left lateral decubitus position, and we will put the bell of the stethoscope and at the apex of the heart for the sound. Can you please turn left side? Can you please zoom here? Here. With the help of the bell of the diaphragm at the location of at the apex, we will osculate for the mitral stenosis. Okay. Now I am going to osculate for the aortic regurgitation. Can you please sit here? For the aortic regurgitation, the patient should be sitting and lean forward. Can you please lean forward and exhale and stop the breathe. Thank you. So we'll put again now we'll put the diaphragm at the apex. This is the procedure for mitral regurgitation. So this is all about the osculation of the heart. I am going to osculate the heart. We have to fix some locations for the osculation of the heart. Example, second right intercostal space for the aortic valve area, for the second left intercostal space for the pulmonic area, for the fourth and fifth left, we can say lower left external border for the tricuspid, and apex for the mitral. So also we have to find some distinction between the S1 S2. Example, at the apex of the heart, S1 is louder than S2. At the base of the heart, S2 is louder than S1. Also we will osculate to the also palpate the carotid upstroke, that is the before carotid upstroke S1, after carotid upstroke is S2. So I am going to start the osculation. So with the for the osculation, I will start with the location of apex. So please zoom here. So this is the apex position. With the help of the diaphragm, we will osculate the mitral valve, second left intercostal space, lower left intercostal space. We will osculate the tricuspid valve, and these two produces the sound S1. And for the first and second intercostal space, we can say left second intercostal space is the aortic is the pulmonic valve, and right second intercostal space is the aortic valve. These are the all valve we osculate with the help of the stethoscope. So now please focus here. Now I am going to osculate for the aortic stenosis. For the aortic stenosis, the patient should be in left lateral decubitus position, and can you please turn to the left side. Can please still. Okay. For the complete for the osculation of the mitral stenosis, we have to with the help of the bell of the stethoscope. Can please do with the bell of the stethoscope we will found the mitral stenosis. Can please zoom here. Okay. So for the mitral stenosis, the patient should be left lateral decubitus position. काटो हो गया. Can you please exhale and stop the breathe? Okay, thank you. You can. So for the if the patient have if the clinician is unable to palpate the we can say right heart. So what to do for the right ventricular area to palpate? If the patient if the clinician is unable to palpate, we can say to exhale patient to exhale and stop the breathe. Also we can use the left lateral decubitus positions for the palpation. Okay.